Is there a better way for us to deal with our food waste? That's what we're going to find out today on episode 56 of the Scottish Liberty Podcast with me, Antony Sammeroff.
And of course, me, Tom Laird.
We have a very special guest today, Justin Nguyen.
And we've got some terrible, mad echo going on.
Okay. That's that.
Obviously, Antony
so.
loves the sound of his voice so much that he has to play it back to him at the same time that he's talking.
Right. Justin, thanks for joining us from your amazing organization, Nguyen Solutions. Now, Nguyen is not spelled in the traditional way, W-I-N, although I think you are winning with this idea that you have. It's Nguyen solutions.org. And Justin has devised an awesome solution to the problem of food waste, a lot of which goes to landfill and is just dumped. Could you introduce yourself to us, please?
And to our
Justin.
Hi there. Hi there, guys. It's awesome to be with you. Thanks so much for having me. I'm Justin, and I'm the founder and director of Nguyen Solutions, and we're a free market solution-oriented company that tries to find free market solutions to problems that are generally kind of set over for the state to figure out. What we're doing right now is we're running a crowdfunding campaign called Recycle Revolution. And what we want to do is make a revolution in recycling. It couldn't be more simple than that. And the way that we're doing that is we're using a special kind of fly called the black soldier fly. And there are several awesome and amazing things.
War on waste with the soldier flies.
Yeah. So what we're doing is we're taking the soldier flies, and what they do is they eat food waste. Everything that we eat, they'll eat after we're done eating it. So that means breads, cheeses, meats. They love fruits and vegetables. And what they do is they eat that, and then when they turn into pre-pupa, they're a great source of protein and fat for animals. So you can take them and change them into, or convert them rather, into animal food, whether it's shrimp. They're great for aquaculture, swine, poultry, chickens, all sorts of things. You know, it's really a breakthrough in kind of waste management technologies, you know, if you can think about waste management in that way.
Okay. So how does one access these flies? First of all, how do you get a hold of these flies? I mean, how do you co-opt them into your business?
Sure. So black soldier flies are pretty common. They originated in the south of the United States, and just through international trade and travel, they've spread all along the equator, and they're tropical insects, and they just live where people throw garbage away. And the way that we found them is there's a lot of people have heard about black soldier flies. Well, not a lot, but there are a small contingent of people who have heard of black soldier flies, and they usually do their own composting, their own waste, like in their home. Okay. So we're based in Bali, Indonesia, and there's one other small house farm up in the countryside. And what we did was we kind of donated to their cause, and they gave us a couple kilos of the larva, and from there we started the life cycle.
Okay. Wow. So this sounds like actually it's something that people could consider doing themselves. If they have a garden or a compost heap, they could get some soldier fly larvae and put their trash in a box with them. And is this what people do? Do people do this?
Yeah. There are, I say a lot because I know quite a few people, but in the grand scheme of things, it's really relatively unknown, right? And that's what people do. They just essentially take a box, you put your larva in it, you put your food waste in it, and they can eat. If you have a pretty dense container full of larvae, they can manage between 50 and 80 pounds of food waste a day.
Okay. And see if you have like an annoying relative or your boss keeps on getting on at you. Like, how long? Sorry, I'm just kidding.
He's going off on one. I'm sorry.
I'm just kidding. I really don't. I don't need any environmental solutions to my interpersonal problems. What I would like to know is, so tell us a little bit about what the problem is with the way that people currently get rid of food waste. Like, what's the problem at the moment that you're solving?
Sure. Right. So, we as libertarians and, pseudo economists, or amateur economists rather, we know that waste is an economic calculation. And what that means is whoever's using that material doesn't find any remaining value, right?
Yeah.
But what we see is that this food waste, and what I like to do is just call it food leftovers, because waste has that implication of you can't use it again.
Right.
So what we are doing is we're taking food leftovers and we're kind of breathing in new life to them. And so what people do, and I think 99% of people in the world will understand this, is you're finished with an apple and you've got the core and you throw it in the garbage. Or, in some Western countries, at least they separate out the plastic, right? But all that food gets thrown in the trash. It gets picked up by your municipal waste management company. It more or less gets thrown into the landfill. In some developing nations, rather than send it to a landfill, they burn it. So and those are the two main things that happens with the food waste. And what we're trying to do is swoop in there, and instead of sending it to a landfill, is keep it and use it as our raw materials. And that's how we're giving new purpose to it.
Okay. So you're taking two problems, which is a pile of waste and I guess, I'm not sure.
So what my question would be, what would be the advantage in terms, I understand like food waste, especially meat products, I can really see the advantage, because obviously meat products can't then be fed onto, I guess they could be fed to dogs or something like that, but apple cores and banana skins and stuff that's vegetation, I guess you could really, if you made an effort, you could feed that directly to livestock. What's the advantage of your system? Are these larvae even more high in protein than the original sort of food waste, if you know where I'm driving at?
Yeah. So it's exactly that. So what you would do, you can compost or do something like what you're talking about. But that isn't, you can't sell that, right? You couldn't just take a hunk of garbage and sell it to somebody and give value to that. But the specific thing that the larva does is, so they'll eat it, they'll grow, we'll collect them, and then we inactivate, dehydrate, and wash them, grind them into powder. Right. And then what you do is, depending on, so they're a high protein, on average, they're about 42% protein, depending on what the food base they eat. If it's rich in protein, they could be a little bit higher. If it's protein poor, it could be a little bit lower. And what you do is you mix that with wheat or corn, depending on what animal you're feeding it to, and you make it into pellets. So if you go to the fish food store, or you go to Petco or something, and you buy animal food, it's in pellets, right? Yeah, and that has nutrient profile of protein, fat, calcium, all these other things. So what we're doing is we're using the soldier flies as a protein base and building our own animal food. Right now, we have a partnership agreement with moderately big shrimp farm, and they said that they would work with us to help us develop the food, because every farm is a little bit different. So depending on what their target market is, so they might want shrimp food that's a little bit higher in protein or a little bit lower. And based on what they need, like we're able to cater to that. And that's really what the key scientific technical aspect is, taking that food waste and turning it into usable proteins.
Okay. And are these proteins, could conceivably, could it be fit for human consumption? I mean, could it be added to human food to add protein to it?
Yeah, 100%. Actually,
Really?
that's not the direction that we're going, because we see that insect food. Actually, we live in Indonesia, and in some parts of Java, eating crickets and grasshoppers, that's very regular. It wouldn't be frowned upon like it would be in the West. And they'll eat larvae so long as you fry it and it's crunchy, it's good to go. So conceivably, yes, 100%, because another unique thing about the black soldier flies is they're antisocial. And that means you've probably never seen one, because they don't like light and they don't like interaction with other insects, other animals, or people.
Right. And, so they're not a pest in terms of, they're not like house flies. They're not something that's going to get in your face and annoy you.
Exactly. And the benefit of that is that they are not vectors of disease, meaning they don't carry diseases around. They don't even leave their colony. So they're sanitary. And that's one of there's so many big things, right? But this is one of the pillars of why they're usable, because they're antisocial and they're sanitary. That's because the regular housefly actually has some of the same benefits in terms of the protein content. But they're so disease ridden and it's so hard to manage them that it's not practical, and there's no research that really shows it at kind of having any future. But the black soldier fly is sanitary, and in some parts, like there's a study that French university did in Ghana, and people in Ghana will eat it. They'll grow it, they'll fry it up, and they'll eat it with rice or whatever their staple is.
So are they actually per se a fly in the same way that housefly? Are they more like a flying ant?
They are. They're in the insect category of the same as the housefly. Okay. But they look like a small wasp. Right. And if you go to Nguyen Solutions, we have pictures of that, of what they look like. Or if you go onto our Facebook, we have some pictures so people can get an idea. But their characteristics, they're weak flyers, so they're not buzzing around. And even we have a small thing that we use we have like a local vegetable market that has some waste, and we feed it to our flies right by my house. And they're very weak flyers. Like you can, if they fly out of their cage, you can just pick them up. They won't fly away from you, and they drink water, but they don't have functioning mouth parts as adults. So they can't eat or anything. They live to procreate and die is basically what their adult function is.
Right. So what's the conversion rate on this? I mean, like in terms of from the raw product that you have until you get it into a commercially viable product, I mean, is there profit to be made in this?
That's what I was going to ask. Obviously your raw materials are free, which give you a advantage over a lot of businesses, because I'm sure lots of people would be only too happy to donate their food waste to you. But is it profitable? Is it scalable?
Yeah, that's what I took some time to figure out. Is it able to come from, home compost style setup? Can you scale it up? Can you do it? And what I found is yes. And that's why we're crowdfunding, is because we believe that you can do it. The evidence is there. And the way that you do that is you need a decent sized facility, because you sell the larva by ton. So you need a lot. You need a lot. But in terms of the food waste that's produced globally, it's not, or it is doable, right? So the thing that we'll do is we'll take it in. We'll take about 100 square meters, and we'll divide it into square meter or cubic meter rows and columns. And then we'll double stack it to maximize the space. And the conversion rate on that, if you take the food waste, you have to account for like all the food waste. So if you have like 1,000 kilos of food waste, about 80% of that is water on average. Some might be a little bit less, some might be a little bit more. So from that 1,000 kilos, you get about, oh my gosh, the math. You get about 200 kilos of food waste in terms of solid food that the flies can eat.
Yeah.
From that 200, you can get, the academic trials have shown between 15% and 35%, the most in between 20 and 25% range. So from that 200 kilos of solid food, you can get about 40 kilos, 50 kilos of usable protein that you can sell. Right?
And
so you do need a lot. You do need a lot, but because they're flies and they can live in dense areas, you don't need as much space. And because you get the food waste for free, and because they don't require any investment in breakthrough technology and they don't require any electricity, it's actually very, very cheap. All you have to do is pay for your land and pay for pickup. And it's basically like a mindless work. Once you get the system going, you add it in, you mix it up, you make sure that everything's okay. So it's not, you don't need very much like skilled labor. You don't need any, I mean, you've got to keep the lights on, but you don't need any, real equipment in terms of, like a biodiesel refinery or any kind of heavy capital. Pretty capital light. You need like a scale, you need a grinder, you need some of these basic things, but these can be bought pretty cheaply.
Okay.
You said you had a couple of other byproducts as well, like you can use their feces for something. Is that correct?
Yeah. So when the food passes through their gut, which is the nice way that we say for feces, it just looks like soil. And that other, so if you remember, I just said that about 20-25% turns into protein, so that becomes the larva. That other 75% turns into feces, right?
Yeah.
And what we can do with that becomes a very nitrogen-rich soil amendment. And a soil amendment is basically a manure that you add to nutrient-deficient soil. And you cannot sell that for a lot of money, but because we're talking about en masse, you can sell a lot of it. And because we're based in Indonesia, the farmers here are always struggling with nutrient deficient soil. And so we have a consultant who's a horticulturalist, and he said that the amount that we could produce would be really, if we can build this facility and we can scale it up, it can really revolutionize the way that farmers are able to produce their crops, because it's very nitrogen rich. And the soil in Southeast Asia and these, the island areas, the Pacific, very nitrogen deficient. And you can only sell that for about 5 cents or 7 cents a kilo. But when you're selling a lot of it, it's starting to make a difference. And that is kind of, if we're focused on the protein, I want to sell this to farmers, and even if it's cheaper, then we'll sell it at like the fair market value. But even if we don't make that much money from it, it's kind of part of the giving back to the community.
Sure.
Okay.
So that we can help enrich, because we're libertarians, right? And so this is like the way that we want to tackle free market environmental problems. We want to take the food waste. You do something with food waste. You're kind of, it ranges in that conservation kind of philosophy where, you're not just throwing food in the ground. You're reducing the amount of greenhouse gases, because rotten food releases methane gas into the environment. And methane gas is, it's about 20 times more harmful to the ozone than carbon gas, but it's a lot less, there's a lot less concentration of it. at any rate, you're reducing the methane gas, and we're able to take the soil amendment and sell it to farmers and really enrich their soil, right? So we're taking on this environmental problem, but also in a way we're taking on charity in terms of, and I mean, like, we'll be making money from it. We won't be making a lot, but we're able to be charitable, you know, because I think a lot of times what people say is, well, you know, you've got to have the government to take care of people. You've got to have the, you know, the agricultural administration going in there and telling all these people what they need, and taking money from somebody else and investing it in this resource and paying that guy to make this thing. But we're just making it just a byproduct. So a byproduct that we have that we can even make a little bit of money from can be wildly successful and wildly popular and a huge benefit.
Yeah. I mean, this is, the wonderful thing about this for me, I mean, I love things like this because one of the things we're good at as libertarians is pointing out a lot of the flaws in the environmentalist arguments that come from, let's say, out of the Green Party. What we're not so good at normally on the libertarian sort of side of things is providing good, viable market solutions. So I mean, I love things like this, but not to put a fly in the ointment, so to speak, but a soldier fly in the ointment. I mean, you're relying to a certain degree on people donating or giving, you know, their food waste, which I'm sure many people will do. But if you had to, I mean, how would it affect the economics of it if you had to, let's say, pay for food waste in order to incentivize more people to give their food waste to projects like this? Would that make it less viable?
Yeah, that would affect it. We don't foresee running into that problem because we have two memorandums of understanding with a pretty big hotel chain here that will give us, we're very good family friends, and they said if we pick it up, they'll give it to us.
Absolutely, because it benefits them. Yeah,
you can save businesses money by picking up their food waste instead of them having to pay for a pickup.
Right, because my dream, if we can start with hotels and restaurants, what I would like to do to incentivize people is I would like to have, I don't know how they do it where you guys are, but in America, everybody's got the blue recycling bin that people pick up once a week, and you have your plastics recycled.
Sure.
What my dream for this project is to have our own bins for food waste in everybody's house, but I do want to pay people for it. I think that would be so amazing if you could pay people for their waste, and that's way down the line. Like,
that's nirvana.
But I would like to, and it wouldn't be a lot of money, you know, it'd just be a penny a kilo or 5 cents a kilo, something like that. But if you can encourage people, and then you are incentivizing people to go green on their own, you're not restricting and you're not regulating.
Now, I have one more question, and then we've got a couple of questions from our live audience. So it's one thing doing this in Indonesia, a country with a low per capita income. Would this idea fly in a Western country
it's getting worse,
like America or Canada, or indeed here in the UK?
I think you need a strong foundation, and you need to have built a reputable brand to get into the markets there. So thing that we haven't talked about is the competition, and all of the animal food. A huge portion of the animal food is the protein is based in fish meal, which is one of the reasons why the cost, for example, for chickens, 70% of the cost of chickens is involved in feeding them. And fish meal is so expensive, and it's volatile because most of it comes from South America, and they're subject to their El Nino storm. And so you'll see, if you look at some charts, you'll see that the price fluctuates. But the industry is so strong, and it's actually got a lot of lobbying going on, and you can't actually sell insect meal in American markets that will end up for human consumption. So you couldn't sell,
Yes,
so we
that's
couldn't
the
sell it.
government getting in the way.
Yeah, the market entry is so heavy. So what you need, I mean, there's one company in America that has been working on this for a few years, and they've had millions of dollars of investment and gone nowhere. Because it's just, you have to go through the FDA, you have to go through the agricultural
So
department.
it's better to do it in other countries for the time being.
Yeah, and once you have the capital to invest, and you have the capital to market it and make cool videos and do things, then that
you can actually demonstrate the benefits.
Exactly.
Yeah, and
exactly.
if you can get some of these videos, there's so many enthusiastic environmentalists in the world right now that would be all over this.
I guess it's about creating a buzz.
Yeah.
Sorry, we're going to do all the fly jokes. I'm sorry.
So Blazing Stars asks, would the flies live in the British climate? Because obviously it's quite cold over here.
They can. It would have to be indoors.
Okay.
They would be able to flourish during the summer months. Their peak temperature is between 25 and 35 C. But if you put them indoors and you can cultivate it carefully, and it can be done, because there are some farms, small operations like home style operations in America right now that are in more that go through winter, and the flies are able to live through the winter. So it can be done. It can be done.
But live through the winter indoors, though. Sorry. Live through the winter. Yeah.
No. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, so they live through the winter. They can live through the winter but indoors. They couldn't live through a winter outside.
Right. I've seen one.
Well, that's good, because that would mean that would solve any sort of fears people would have about ecological contamination in terms of the flies getting out into our environment and causing some havoc that we don't know about yet. They couldn't actually live they couldn't survive a Western winter without human intervention. Yeah.
Right. 100%.
Cool. Another question from our audience.
Dots Hots says, how do you stop carrion flies from getting in and contaminating it?
How do we stop what?
Carrion flies, like normal flies getting into the process, getting into the food and contaminating the food.
Okay, so the science on this is so amazing. Okay. It's weird, but I love black soldier flies, right? So they can. The only time that black soldier flies are very sensitive to competition is right when they hatch. They cannot outcompete for the first 1 to 2 days of their life, so you have to be careful. Right. But once they get beyond that, all other ant competition, other fly competition they'll die off, because they can't out-eat the black soldier fly. And then when they get bigger, what the black soldier fly does is that it emits a pheromone, and to warn other species that if they come in, that they'll die. They're not aggressive and they can't bite, they won't fight, but they will eat all the resources and leave nothing else for house flies or ants or other things.
Okay.
Sounds like socialist. Just kidding.
Yeah. They're the government of flies.
Okay. Right. You're doing fantastic work, Justin. So please tell everyone where they can go and support you. And I'm sure at this stage, no donation will be overlooked. So if you've got some spare cash lying around, please.
Or some spare food waste.
Right.
Stick it in an envelope.
Throw it in Justin's direction, because this is a really good way to do something good in the world, and also show that there's better ways of doing things than the way that the government does it. And tell people where they can go and donate some money to your fundraiser and what they will get.
Yeah, so you can go to our website, and that's called nguyen.org. It's NGUYEN solutions.org. And you can click on our link. It says donate to our Indiegogo fund. And on our website, you'll find a video, you'll find articles, we've got press, and all this more information, specific details about black soldier flies. When you go to our Indiegogo page, you'll be able to see, the whole outline, the whole roadmap of what we want to do. And if you have any more questions, you can always email me. My email address is on the website, and I try and get, you know, a pretty speedy response. I really like the engagement and hearing what other people have to say. And yeah, you know, every dollar counts. We live in Indonesia, so, you know, we can do a lot with less. You know, we can start this whole thing. Our target was, you know, $50,000 to start it out, and like in a big way, you know, it's go big or go home. But actually what we can do is right now I think we've got about $3,600, and that will last us quite a while. We'll do it smaller, but we'll be able to buy all the supplies, all the things that we need, and grow our operation, test the food. And yeah, so every dollar counts. And, you know, we've got some perks on there. It's got some, you know, anarcho-capitalist propaganda, or, you know, libertarian manifestos and stuff like that.
Love it.
Yeah, so every dollar counts, and, you know, and I'll send out emails, and I will be very thankful. And I know that, you know, the libertarian movement down the line will be thankful too, as we start to take on the market. You know, we've got great intellectual foundation going forward. You know, we've got to take up the mantle to, you know, practice what we preach and give form and shape to what our ideas are.
That's right. Now,
just a second. I heard that somebody said there was some sort of freebie involved with getting to your website. So don't you have some sort of free ebook or something to download?
Yes, if you donate, I will send you Antony's free ebook. It's a great perk.
Wow!
It's awesome. It's so fantastic. I read it. It's a great way to break it down. He's spot on. Yeah.
Incredible.
So give us a little bit of money. We'll back you guys up.
Well, I'm thinking I'll sign up for that myself, actually. Read his ebook again. It's wonderful.
Right. I sent $25 Justin's way, so please match me if you can afford it. It's a great cause. It's hard to think of something much better that you could send your money to go a good way. So
yeah, Justin, look, think what you're doing is absolutely fantastic. Wish you every success with it, and we'd like to keep a tab on it. So it'd be great if we could have you on again in the future to give us an update and let us know exactly what's happening, if that's cool with you.
Absolutely. It's been a pleasure to be on with you guys.
Thank you so much. Speak to you again soon.
Yeah, talk soon. Thanks.